right. Well, good evening for part 2 of episode 12. I don't know what happened to Adam. I forgot. Oh, there we go. Now we're actually broadcasting. I can see it. We started a whole nother stream instead of being on this one. So we probably lost half of you guys as you jumped back to the other stream, but now you're back over to this stream. So you're just going to have to, on your keyboard, hit shift period a few times to speed it up to 2x and catch up to the whatever it is. Welcome, everybody. We've got Dexter. We've got Rodney. My other intro was probably better because it wasn't fumbling through all this, but nonetheless.
Yeah, y'all missed a great intro. That's all I'm going to tell you. That was probably the best 90 seconds of a stream we ever had, and everybody missed it. It was awesome.
And Adam's back. There we go. Okay. Let me
for real this time.
So what happened is I created the live stream like this morning, and then I, jumped in here with the rest of these guys, but I forgot to link it to what we were doing. And then I had Adam push the live button because I was in full screen mode and couldn't see it. Y'all don't really even care or need to know, but that's where we're at. Dexter's joining us because he is a very knowledgeable guy in this space.
He's smarter than us.
He's smarter than us in all of the solar things. And so he's going to come in here and learn us a thing or two. So we're going to pick his brain. If you've got questions, as always, place QQQ in the comments somewhere.
And we promise tonight 100% that Dex is going to be able to answer them. 100%.
He will absolutely answer the questions.
You guys are trying to set me up to sound like a lawyer or a politician here, to the best of my knowledge.
That's right. We're going to have a good time. We appreciate everybody being here. If you're new, I'm going to say this again. I said it earlier. If you're new, welcome. We try to be a little bit more, put together on this. That's my bad. If you're old and you've been around here a long time, if you're old, if you've been around, we appreciate you being here. We always have a good time in the chat. And speaking of the chat, which is right where I was at whenever y'all were like, we're not even live. I'm going to read off who we've got over here in the top chat. We've got Richard Bizon. We've got Retro Z Machine, Color Maker, Jim, AGT Covert, Pedvan. We've got Rodney. We've got Mike Joe Kruger, Mark, Red Bull, Off Grid Wannabe, user KW4X, user, you. We've got Roy, Michael, and 401k Solar, and Mike's Garage, and the list goes on. You guys are awesome. There's a ton of you in here. So 42 people, just not too bad for having 2 streams going at the same time. Ooh, with that, Rodney, how's it been? I haven't seen you or talked to you in a couple of weeks due to kind of just missing each other on the streams. What's been going on?
I've been working a lot. I did get to start on my parents' project over there, putting the battery in, that 314 amp hour EG4 battery I got that added to their 280. I got it on the wall, on the brick on the outside, and I still got to do all the wiring and all that stuff. I just ran out of time. I was able to work on it for like a couple hours the other day. Man, getting those batteries are a beast. That's all I can say, man. If you don't have a piece of equipment to pick that thing up with, trying to get on them brackets, and if you can't get it lined up, whew, them things are heavy. And me and my dad made it work. I tried to do it by myself. My dad wasn't there, of course. I tried to do it by myself and got it kind of hung on there and couldn't move it. And I had to wait for him to come home to help me move the thing and get it on there. I'm like, man, if you got to do that thing, have 2 people. Don't try to do it by yourself because you can't see the bracket. And so I got it on the edge, and it kind of got hung, and I was like, I cannot pick this thing up. So that's what I've been working on. So work, normal stuff, life.
Yeah. Adam, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, about the same as Rodney. Just seems like lots been going on here around the house, and none of it's been solar related. I really haven't been down here into the utility room in couple of days, just trying to get a lot of stuff taken care of around the house.
Okay, well,
must mean things are working, right?
Things to be done.
Hopefully, things are working.
That's right.
Adam, what do you got powering everything right now? Is it all the MidNite stuff or MNP inverters still behind you?
Yeah, at the moment,
I've got a mixture of the MidNite stuff and then that Anchor Solis E10 system. It's running all the 220 loads or the 240 loads, and then this stuff behind me is running everything else.
And what were we supposed to tell everybody about the kilowatt hours they produced today? What do we put again? Everybody can put that too.
We're
can
doing
do that
star,
too.
star, star.
Yeah.
That's right.
After
so like
Dexter
shift,
does his little intro,
shift 8 or whatever.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So Dexter, introduce yourself for those who haven't caught you on the stream.
Yeah,
Who
good
are you? What
point.
do you do?
Good point.
And what have you been up to this week? That's fun.
Yeah. So I'm Dexter. I'm one of the two owners of Current Connected. We are a distributor of renewable energy products and generators. I kind of have to segment those out nowadays. And we started as DIYers out of 2 shipping containers, living the off-grid lifestyle. And I made a YouTube video way back when that got over 1 million views. And people just like you were like, hey, where do I get this stuff? And we kind of realized the business opportunity and jumped on it. It was right in the middle of COVID, and things kind of just worked out. And, we've never stopped learning and, teaching and passing on everything we've learned to people like you guys that are just like us, So really cool, to be in the industry and learn a lot. And look, y'all hold me to such a high standard as being an expert, but anybody could be an expert. Just never stop asking questions, never stop learning. I have really good friends that are electrical engineers that have built stuff that, I probably shouldn't mention. And just learning from them and listening and observing and applying, that's kind of what's got us here. So. But yeah, you guys are in my lab. I've got some test benches back there, and one of the things that really sets Current Connected apart, I could show everybody around in a little bit if you want, but one of the things that really sets us apart is we don't just throw stuff on our website and drop ship. I really like that we can get our hands on, test stuff, experiment, really become experts at the products that we offer. I think that's critical. I mean, otherwise, what fun would it be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thanks for jumping on the show tonight. We were just kind of chatting earlier today. Actually, it was like, I don't know, 8:30 this morning. We're like, what's the topic going to be tonight? And, we've done a couple Q&As. And then, of course, last week I was camping. The week before, Rodney was out doing something else. And so we've done a lot of Q&As, but we thought we would bring someone else in with a fresh perspective from just the three of us normal co-hosts here, and Dexter was like, "Hey guys, I'm free tonight, so if y'all want to jump on?" So, sure, let's do it. So we brought him on, and we're gonna do that. But before we do, let's actually go over and do our, what do we call it? The solar or the sunshine report or something. What is it? All right, we're gonna look through and see what you guys have actually been pulling in, and if if you want to simplify things, give us your kilowatt hours for the day, and just like the state you're in or nation if you're not in the States. All right, so we've got Mr. Not So Off Grid, 8.7 kilowatt hours, I suppose, in Central Kentucky. And then Color Maker he's in Florida, 68 kilowatts. All right. Adam might hit 15 kilowatt hours, maybe. And, well, let us know if you hit it by the end of the stream. I guess it's probably dark for you at this point, isn't it?
Yep.
All right, Ken H, 103 kilowatt hours. He is nice. The winner for tonight so far. Let's see. Claygon has got 22.3 kilowatt hours in Massachusetts. AGT Covert, 41.2. And Bill Barker, 141 kilowatt hours.
Whoa.
Man, that's nice. Awesome. Red Bull, 20 kilowatt hours. All right. And VA, let's see. We've got John has got 27.8 kilowatt hours. And Wisconsin, batteries are full. Fantastic. Mike has got 62 kilowatt hours and batteries are charged as well. Because I was going to say, Mike, you got a bigger array than that, but If your batteries are charged, they're charged. Wagner families, 31 kilowatt hours. Off-grid wannabe, 4.5. Yeah, that's about where I'm sitting, I'm sure. I'm wondering for you, off-grid, if was it rain or you're still working on your array setup? We've got Jake as 9.3 on 2.2 kilowatts. That's not bad. That's a good haul. Must have been a good day. Let's see. What's that? Man
Man, the man, Dan.
Man to man Dan. There we go. Sorry. I really wish YouTube would fix this and like actually give us words again. Jared's got 34 kilowatt hours in Philly. This is cloudy. Let's see. Then we've got Joe Schmidt, 77. Would be more, but cooked off a connector on my test array. Oops.
Oh, man.
Well, don't do that. All right. Richard Bizon, 12.5. Okay. And man, it's still going. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to have time to read all these things. So actually, we're pretty much done. So we'll go. Mark did 21 kilowatt hour small array in Arizona. John Montgomery, 22 kilowatts. Wagner family, 33.1. In Emory, that's pretty close to me in Emory, Texas. And oh gosh, they're still coming in. It just bumped down. Where did it go?
Turbo Jeep.
I'm trying to find him. Turbo Jeep. There we go. A Turbo Jeep. That's cool. 23 kilowatt hours. And then Bill Phillips, 91. Nice. Pedvan 51 in Houston, and 401k solar, 2.21 megawatt hours since 2020. Nice. Fantastic. You guys, that's fun. I have not had time to try to build out the app that's going to just kind of calculate it all up for us and put it on screen, but that's still in the works. Hopefully it's something I can get to in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. I didn't tell you what I've been doing, but I guess a lot of you guys have seen it already. I kind of wrapped up with that Solis stuff, although someone pointed out that I did have an error or a red light on one of my Solis inverters. So on my deep well pump, 5-horse well pump, takes a lot of energy to start it. I'm having issues with that. It didn't work. I'm kind of just like wanting to move on. So I went through and then the very next day put the 12,000 XP on, and it just works so well. It's great. Everything I know, about half of you guys in the audience have been saying for about 6 months, Eric, just put a 12,000 XP on it and be done. So I did that, but then I actually removed that, and then today put it at my brother-in-law's over in one of his sheds as a real temporary thing. I might put a video out on that. And then I'm going to be moving a bunch of stuff around over the next few months. So there's a lot coming up. But that's what I've been up to, other than camping all last week in Oklahoma, which was fun. So that was a good time.
So what'd you make today?
What did I make today? Have not looked.
All right, Adam. Never mind. Go ahead.
Let me
He
log
already
in.
read off mine.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
I missed
might
it.
hit 15, right?
Yeah, maybe close to 15 for me.
Okay.
Dexter, what'd you get? 0.
Nothing.
0.
I don't have it. So I have a small little
Just stuck
array
in
of
juice from the
11 panels on the side of the building, but I haven't actually
Yeah.
connected them to anything. So yeah, I feel guilty every day I see them. They're on the Integra rack, the adjustable ones. So I even did a nice spread of different angles.
I
for
saw
this
that video.
winter.
That was nice.
I saw that one, yeah.
The results were inconclusive because we had one of the worst winters here in North Idaho in terms of actually getting snow. So yeah, they all pretty much. So I was in Las Vegas until
Nevada. That's right.
April of last year. Yeah, but we
Okay.
moved up to North Idaho back where we first started the company. Hey, you were telling me you were reading my About Us page, and that's all on there.
I didn't say I read it. I said I put an image from it.
Hey, you had to pull
I didn't read
Pepper's
a word
image
on
too
it.
while you're on there, right? No. So yeah, we opened another location in North Idaho, and I moved back up here. This is where we started the company, and
Okay.
that's why that's why I'm back up here. So this building, yeah, is our Idaho location where we have a little bit more space to do R&D and that sort of thing. It was getting a little bit crammed in Las Vegas. But yeah, we do have a location in Las Vegas as well. Yep. So yeah, the solar array is not yet connected. We need to connect it. I have the servers up here, so it's a really good continuous load for testing things, but it's just been time consuming and I've been a little bit busy. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get there.
Got to test out your staff and let them wire it all up and see if it's up to snuff.
Well, tech support's still in Las Vegas, so hey, we're you know,
You got R&D where you are, right?
yeah. We'll see. Maybe this summer we'll get to it. But yeah, the results on the snow was very inconclusive because it was very quick for the snow to turn to rain, and at that point everything was a sloppy mess that slid off even the 15-degree angle. So yeah, I mean, you could see as it was melting that 45 degrees was a little bit better, but nothing really stuck long enough to definitively say. We never got a pile in front of the panels to say, hey, this is building up too much, and maybe I was wondering if 30 degrees would give it a little bit more of a, where it lands further away from the panels to help it from building up directly in front of it, but no results.
It doesn't.
Let's see.
Mine are at 35, and it just kind of rolls right off and then just starts building up.
Like a quarter
Gotcha.
game or whatever. Just kind
Yeah.
of pushes the quarters off.
I was also, I shorted out some of the panels to see if having them under a load and current actually flowing would help with shedding the snow, but same thing, inconclusive at this point.
Well, I got 7.4 kilowatt hours today, which I think is my best one. of
That's
this
actually
array.
Somebody-
not bad for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah,
said
I've
he
only
got
four
43
panels.
kilowatts in Germany.
Nice.
Oh, really?
All right.
Sweet.
Good deal. Okay. So let's jump on and see if we have any questions. I'm going to do
I saw a
place
couple.
QQQ. What's that?
Yeah, I saw a couple. Someone was asking where the Cummins generators are made. They must have seen the one on the bench back here. And that's a fun story we'll get into here in a minute. That being
Yeah,
said,
there we go.
there's a few different models, actually. And the one on the bench behind me, that one is made by Cummins. They have natural gas versions. What are they? 13 to 20 or so kilowatts. Those are also made by Cummins. However, they're larger ones. What do they start at? 20 kilowatts and up. Those are actually using Kubota motors. And that was quite the compliment, in my opinion, to Kubota. For Cummins, we
No
all know
kidding.
the Cummins, inline 6-cylinder, fantastic motors, right? I have one, right? So they're using Kubota in their diesel gen sets. That's a interesting compliment to me. But anyway, that one was spending some time in my environmental chamber. I was trying to make a cool video, I'll admit. I'll be the first to admit. I'm like, what would be a cooler video than doing a cold start? There's cold start test videos on YouTube where they're at like 25, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. But I'm in Idaho. That's like a normal day. So I was like, let's see, what happens when we go down to negative 30 Celsius? And I started the test by first putting 4 samples of oil. I had the store brand, from the auto parts store. I had the oil it came with. I had Mobil 1 full synthetic, and I had Royal Purple full synthetic as well. I put them all in the environmental chamber and got them super, super cold to see, all right, what is the viscosity of these? And they weren't solid, but they definitely were not exactly liquid. My recommendation is if you're going to change the oil on something, don't do it at negative 30.
Yeah.
And that was brand new oil, so it'd be interesting to see if I got a sample after, say, 100 hours or whatever the interval is on the generator and see what is the consistency after it's ran through the unit for quite a while. That being said, at negative 30, I tried starting it. The first thing that happened was they have a 4 amp hour sealed lead acid battery in them, and I got about 1 attempt of a crank before the battery was dead. So electric start works great at normal ambient temperatures, -30, it was out the window. So I'm like, all right, well, I open the door of the chamber and I start pulling on because they have a manual pull cord, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
The
no.
the pull cord's
Did
just
you
shattered.
snap it? Yeah.
I didn't.
Eric.
No, no. The pull cord held strong.
Yeah.
Everything
Hello,
about the
been
pull
there.
cord was
Well, not with that
fine.
part.
However, the grease in the mechanism that rewinds the pull cord once you pull it was so cold and stiff that the spring couldn't overcome the force
my
of the
goodness.
grease in
Wow.
the mechanism. It eventually did. Like, it was slow as molasses.
Yeah.
So I put it back in the chamber, I closed the door on the chamber again and was like, all right, I got to give this a minute. So the first test I did was on propane. And this is why we do this stuff. We learn so much. The problem, it would have never started, even if I got the starter working, even if I put a jump pack on it, if I did everything right, it probably would have never started on propane, because at -30 degrees Celsius, there's not
Propane is
enough
liquid.
pressure in the propane tank to boil off as a vapor to feed the unit. And I thought propane would be better. I've heard stories of, like, diesel, for example, gelling up at the extreme cold temperatures, but here's my lesson in chemistry, right? That gasoline is not diesel, and neither is propane gasoline. So I took it out of the chamber to fill it with gasoline, and then now I to do a fair test, right? I need to wait for the gasoline to come down to temperature, because if the gasoline's 70 degrees or whatever it is here in the shop, not exactly a fair test. So I waited another, these tests are not quick. Like, to let the gasoline inside of the unit come down to temperature, it took a solid, like, hour to hour and a half. So then I go test it again, and
Should have used a torch, just like heat it up a bit.
I mean, these are all things that if it was -30 outside, yeah, I definitely would be trying. So cooled down again with gasoline in it this time. I go and start pulling the cord, but I'm not the buff guy that you guys painted me to be in the last live stream picture. And I don't have the upper body strength. So I pulled it out and set it on the ground, and that gave me enough, like, I could use my whole body to, pull upwards, right? And get a better pull on it. But I realized as I was doing that, it's a 220 or so cc motor. Each time the piston goes up and down, we're pulling, 68, 70 degree ambient room temperature air through it. And after about the 30th pull, it starts firing, right? But I realized this just invalidated the test, because nobody is cooling this down to -30, bringing it into a warm place to start it. Don't start a generator indoors, right? So yeah, it was kind of a failure of a video. But that all being said, the recording went pretty hilarious, because everything went wrong. Everything went absolutely wrong. And anybody that's made YouTube videos knows how this goes. The audio recorder, I forgot to hit record on the audio recorder. Then I hit record. Then the batteries were dead. I took it out of the box I have one of these, like, Uline roll-around carts, and I had the box on there. It was a beautiful presentation. And I'm like, all right, I'll cut the sides of the box down. I'll roll it on its side. I'll pull the box off, and I'll roll it back. Except when I rolled it on its side, I rolled it over the handle section of the cart, which quickly went bloop. So now the generator, there's this way, right here, there's a mark on it where it fell upside down on the floor, right out of the box. Not brand new anymore, I guess. I'm like,
At least it wasn't that cold when it fell.
durability test here.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything on that video went quite wrong, but still learned a lot from it. But to say, all right, we're going to test this at -10 Celsius doesn't seem as fun. But realistically, like, at the end of the day, if you're in that cold of an environment, yeah, this is probably not the generator for you. Cummins makes generators that have heaters on the generator heads and on the oil pans and that kind of thing. That's the right way to do it. This is not ideal. Normal temperatures, right? 0 degrees, it was no problem. The electric start worked at 0 Celsius. So, yeah, I would not recommend this on the North Pole, but in the United States, you're probably fine. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, let's jump to another. Yeah, let's jump to another question here. Richard says, why does it matter about the length of the battery cables when using 2 or more inverters? No.
Good question. there's a long answer to this. There's a lot that could go into this. So I hope you guys are ready. And if we have 100 more questions, let me know. I'll do the shorter version. But
So far, we have 4 more.
cool,
So
cool.
get your questions in. But yeah, take your time.
So I'll use Victron inverters as an example. When you set 2 Victron inverters in parallel, like I'm not talking about like split phase where there's a L1 and an L2, but let's say you have L1A and L1B, right? 2 in parallel for twice the capacity on that phase. The L1 inverter is actually the one leading the way, and L2 pretty much passively follows. So the only thing that balances the current between the 2 inverters is the resistance of the wiring. And if that doesn't match exactly, let's say you have less resistance on the L1 inverter, you're going to have more of the load covered by that L1 inverter, which means it could potentially go into an overload scenario below the combined rating of both units. Now, in split phase configurations, it usually doesn't matter as much. Some inverters are a little bit more sensitive. I have seen some of the real cheap inverters out of like China where on the communication cable between them, they share a common ground. So if you have different lengths of negative cables, for example, and they're tying that negative connection from the inverter to the communications ground, having a difference in voltage across the 2 units, because the different lengths of cable have different voltage drops, I have seen can fry the communications on those inverters. So yeah, usually it's on parallel connections, but look, here's the politician answer. Always refer to the manual and see what they say there.
Yes, sir.
Some
All
don't
right, well,
care.
thanks.
Some have the, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
sorry.
thanks for answering that. And Richard, if that wasn't clear, bring a
Yeah,
follow
follow
up,
up.
or if that didn't quite answer your question the way you were asking. But I think that was pretty good. Thanks, Dexter. The
Yeah.
next question, Off Grid Wannabe says, Dexter, tell Eric why Solis systems won't pump water.
You know, I saw
Oh,
somebody
man.
later in the comments that was saying, Dexter, don't touch it.
You don't have to touch that one at all.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe because it's not a 12,000 XP. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe Eric has it set up wrong with tech support help. I don't know.
Like one thing I was saying about that whole, sorry to jump on the Solis thing, is I would like to see the amps DC coming from the battery of each battery. Because if it's over its rating, maybe you need 2 batteries for each inverter. 2 batteries might be enough for the load, but not enough for each inverter to overcome the overload point or whatever of the battery, maybe. I don't know.
That
Maybe
could
the
be it.
BMS. So I understand
could
you don't
be
want to
it.
deal with that anymore, but I would just like to know. Now I want to know
Yeah.
because of,
Yeah.
I'm watching
Yeah.
all these videos and I want this thing to work. So I'm like, I want this thing to work. I want you to get 4 batteries. But
Well,
anyway,
you'd think that if this thing is split in between 2 sets,
Yeah.
2 full inverters, that 1 battery for each inverter should be sufficient.
not for the
should.
numbers I looked at, not by the spec.
Yeah?
If the
each-
spec, if the overload spec works, I don't think it does. That's what I'm getting at. I think
Maybe.
it's only doing the 7 that it like should do continuous. I think that's all it will do.
So I've had 2 guys contact me this week, both of them with legit Solis systems and very clean installs with photos, 2 batteries. 2 batteries per inverter. So maxed out. Oh my goodness. Maxed out 2 inverters. I'm knocking this microphone all over the place. So 4 batteries total, 2 inverters for one of the guys. He sent me pictures. I don't know if he wants his name out here or whatever, so I'm not going to say it. But he's having pretty much the same issues. He's like, it runs my house fine, but first off, if I, run a toaster or a coffee maker or whatever, lights are flickering like crazy. But second, I was fully off grid also. So he's like, can't run my laser cutter, can't run my welder, can't run my air pump, can't run any large loads that are inside the capabilities of everything spec'd out. Just flat out, it just runs into fault, even with just like no loads or very low loads on anything else.
And
So
it's
I've
just-
had 2 people tell me this just in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, and is this just a Solis problem or is this a high voltage inverter problem? Because we've heard some people saying high voltage is not made to run loads like this.
I had a
you know,
lot,
different
yeah, I've had a lot of
so-
people saying that, but you know, all like for the last, 16 months, it's high voltage is the future. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Dexter,
Let's
what's
get
your
a
take on
comment
that?
from our panelist.
Oh
Expert.
man, I've taken apart a handful of these all-in-one inverters, and a lot of them have a high voltage bus in the middle that essentially the DC to DC circuit that goes from 48 or so volts DC to the high voltage is just emitted, right? So I don't see why it would be all that much different. I would argue it should be better if, we're going straight from the batteries to high voltage without that converter stage as a potential weak link along the way. But look, I don't have my hands-on experience on the exact inverter you have, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. But yeah, it should be able to handle more. But really what it comes down to, in my opinion, is I think it comes down to how honest the manufacturers are speccing their stuff and if they're ever engineered to have a surge capacity. Because some stuff is never designed to. And then on the other hand, you have like MidNite Solar, the Rosie, for example, where you can do a 3-time surge. It all comes down to how much money, did the manufacturer want to spend on giving you that overhead to have that ability, right? That's my opinion on it.
And that's kind of what I was saying. I think their continuous rating is true, and I think that's all you're going to get. I don't think that the 11 kilowatts or whatever it was from the battery or something like that, I don't think that's actually true. So,
Yep.
Yeah, actually, this is our next question right here.
Oh,
Yeah, there we
perfect.
go. I was going to say someone was pushing a button to make
Say,
that
yep.
make that change.
Finger
there.
slipped.
There we go. Dexter, your perspective on current high voltage systems, batteries / inverters, pros, cons, any products on the horizon that look interesting to you? You kind of covered that, but I'll let you throw any additional thoughts on it if you'd like.
My only hesitation on the high voltage systems is how it transitions from like 48 volts. Everybody makes 48 volt batteries. They're like standard building blocks, I'd argue, right? When you get into high voltage, there's the word that I'm never a fan of, and that is proprietary. I really don't like on high voltage how everything becomes so proprietary and you're really vendor locked into, hey, this inverter is only going to work with this battery. And if they're not in business, 10 years from now, well, you're buying again, right? So I tend to be a bigger fan of 48 volt systems just because, like, look, if something goes wrong, hey, get another 48 volt battery, or it's a standard, let's say, pylon tech or something like that protocol that many inverters speak, many batteries speak, right? Yeah, so I hesitate a little bit. I think it needs to be, really lucrative on the price, like be really worth your while where it's that much better of a deal, or made with standard building blocks. Like, let's say there were 48 volt batteries you could put in series and kind of a system where you could use, like, let's say, for example, like an EG4LL battery in series, right? That's my opinion on it, but...
So I will say there is, who y'all remind me, who's the guy in chat last couple of weeks who's got his own DIY high voltage batteries for the Solis inverters? And they seem to be just rocking, just doing a great job. So yes, there is that side. It isn't as locked down as some of them would make you seem or think, but it is also pretty darn locked down, from what I've seen.
and most of those inverters, so far from what I've seen, they are limited on the battery capacity. So,
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to be able to do something to
you
change
get to 60
that?
kilowatt
Because
hours
if you
and
keep
you're
putting them on
done.
top of each other, this is going to make the voltage go higher, correct?
Right.
Ain't that how it's built?
Yeah, some inverters, like the Solarc 60K, for example, has 2 independent battery inputs. So you could have 2 different battery banks, even with different quantities of batteries on each one. So, like, let's say you have a higher voltage on string 1 than string 2. It can draw from them independently. But I know, like, Will Prouse just made some videos on the Solarc 60K using a Doya battery, and he had nothing but problems with it, and it's not like it was easy for him to figure out. It was nothing but a nightmare where the battery manufacturer was blaming the inverter manufacturer and the inverter manufacturer was blaming the battery manufacturer. I'd argue rightfully so, but it was not.
Yeah. What
If I was
happens?
mess.
I'd be upset.
Right.
Because
I
basically,
mean,
my
gone
48
are the
volt
days-
system. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, gone are the days where you can, what I did on my video the other day with had the Husky batteries, 48 volts. I didn't have comms on it. I just told the inverter we're in lead acid mode, and the
There you
Husky
go.
2
Yeah.
just works, right? It doesn't need to talk to the battery other than for state of charge, really. And
Right.
so, but I guess when you're working with 400 volts, you need to like, hey, here it comes, give it to me, whatever. Like, I don't know how that
Yeah,
works.
the taper down. What you really don't want to hit is the point where like on a 48 volt system. So what if a BMS shuts down? I mean, it's kind of common. It happens all the time, right? If something's out of balance. But on a high voltage system, I think there's so much more risk for a voltage spike that could be so much more damaging that I think it is important for things to ramp down a lot more gracefully as things are reaching a potential, over voltage or full charge point. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I
All
can
right, let's
basically
jump to
add
the-
as many batteries to a 48 volt system as I want to, even though
Exactly.
technically some of them say, hey, there's a limit. I got a
Well-
ton of different batteries hooked together, and me personally, I
And
haven't
if
had
the
a problem.
world falls
So,
apart, you can start going and yanking batteries out of vehicles and make yourself a 48 volt
Right.
battery. That'll work just
Yeah.
fine. All right. So here we go. James says, does Cummins plan on putting a 2-wire start on their generators? I know that Gen Max and Duramax does, and they go a lot bigger on their inverter units. There's a 28 kilowatt Duramax tri-fuel. Any idea, Dexter, on what Cummins has coming down the pipeline on generators?
That's a good question. So I get in their new 11 kilowatt generators probably by the end of the week, if not first thing next week. And I know they all have a remote control, like a key fob, but that doesn't do much for controlling it with an inverter. I did see a plug on one of them that I wasn't sure what it was for. It wasn't exactly labeled, but I'm not exactly sure if they're adding it yet. Yeah, the new one here, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let's go here on this window. Is this coming through all right? Oh, here, my aspect ratio. There we go. So they have this plug. I don't know if you guys can see that in the bottom right where it says control. Here, this may be a better view. So that bottom right one, I'd like to know what that's for. I don't have an exact answer right now, but I'd imagine if everybody's doing it, they're probably coming soon. So I get, like I mentioned, this one in any day
There,
now.
Cummins.
And you're funny. Love it. So as soon as I get it in, I have one set aside for a shop testing unit, and I'll get that figured out for you guys. So hey, maybe next time I'm here, I'll have an exact answer for you. All right?
There we go.
Nice. All right.
Could read
We got
the
another
manual.
question. This one, there you go. Yeah, or just tinker with it when it comes. Jeff
more fun.
says, let's see what is it. How important is UL approval and fire suppressors in batteries to you guys? Do you think these are important considerations for folks new to solar? Thanks, Jeff.
So I'll break that into two parts. UL approval, highly recommend. I can't tell you how many customers we've had that have bought batteries that don't have UL approval because they're a good price, and they buy an inverter from us, and they get it all in, and they're like, look, I'm never going to backfeed to the grid. And sometimes that argument is not a matter of if you're going to get caught, it's a matter of when, if you're using these hybrid systems and not setting appropriate base loads. So for off-grid, maybe it's a little bit of a different story, but I personally think that the price difference for a UL-listed battery and a non-UL-listed battery is almost marginal. I would lean toward that. At bare minimum, UL 1973. Now, do I think UL 9540 is all that it's made out to be? Not exactly, but I think UL 1973 is kind of my bare minimum for what I'd want to put on my house. Now, look.
What are the differences in those?
So 9540 is full ESS system, like battery paired with inverter, and it's a much more thorough testing. You guys have probably heard of UL 9540A. That is the first section of the UL 9540 standard, which is testing against thermal runaway. UL 1973 essentially makes sure that the battery is safe in of its own as a battery and as a component, but 9540 is the full system test with everything all encompassed, all connected together. Now, on the other side, the fire arresters, I'm the guy that stabbed a lithium iron phosphate cell with a digging spear. And at that point, nobody had gotten lithium iron phosphate in all the puncture tests you could find on YouTube. to catch fire, and I got it to catch fire. And realistically, the fire that I had was the electrolyte as it was being heated up and vaporized. Essentially, the way I would put it is, I don't know the exact chemical makeup, but I would say it was pretty close to equivalent of like rubbing alcohol or maybe acetone on fire, right? But it wasn't such a thermal runaway like a NCA or an NMC chemistry where it's like, oh goodness, this is bad. So I know lithium iron phosphate is pretty darn safe. I wouldn't personally, like, look, my parents, they have 25 batteries all in their electrical room and none of them have fire protectors. And do I lose sleep at night? No. Though almost every battery on the market these days as a, CYA kind of thing, they put the fire suppressors in there. So I think it's getting harder and harder to find batteries without them than with them. So, hey, if it's not costing you anything, probably get some with it, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Just in case anybody was curious and hadn't seen that video, I did drop it into the chat so that you can go back and watch him stabbing that cell.
Yeah, some NC Hydro mentioned in chat that a lot of the UL listed batteries use the same cells as the non-UL listed. That is very true. I mean, it's just that extra level of testing to make sure that something simple like, look, I think UL is kind of losing a little bit of its value considering a certain brand battery had a bolt as an electrical connection through plastic.
But didn't he say that they're not actually UL listed? They're just saying they're UL approved or UL something another, but they're not actually listed? And I don't know. This is what I was going to ask you as my follow-up question is what's the difference between those two?
Yeah, good question. So UL sets the standards. So UL 1973, for example, is a standard for batteries. UL 1741 is a standard for inverters. So once they set the standard, there are other labs that can test to the same standard because UL has to say, hey, here's the procedure. You have to check this box, this box, this box, this box, right? So you can meet the standard without being tested by UL. UL is going to do the exact same test on, checking all those same boxes as another lab like Intertech. They're all following the same testing procedure, the same standard. That's the purpose of having a standard, right? So I don't quite agree with the argument that a battery tested to the same standard by UL versus, Intertech or another, because it's not easy to be a testing lab. Like I can't just say, hey, I'm authorized to test to UL, whatever, and put my mark on that battery or inverter. It has to be a nationally recognized testing laboratory. So for that reason, and knowing that it's not an easy process to be one of those testing laboratories, or every manufacturer would be their own testing lab and pass all their products, right?
Right.
I don't think that it loses the merit if Underwriter Laboratories is not the one doing the actual test. But good question.
That makes sense. But the standard is there. It's good to meet the standard. However, just because you meet a standard doesn't mean you didn't use a bolt where it shouldn't have been used or whatever, right?
And they're safety standards. They're making sure people aren't getting hurt, not that the product is going to perform well, right? So the BMS, if a BMS is disconnecting uncontrollably and it causes poor performance, that's not a UL concern. That's separate, right? Just like NEC, right? When you're going through the apprenticeship, they teach you that NEC is not an instruction manual. It is the bare minimum for like health and safety, right? You can exceed code and still be to code, right? And
Sure.
NEC is not concerned with is your electrical system going to perform great, right? So that's kind of where that's coming from. So technically, are those batteries safe? Well, you could argue that a little bit, but I think it still checks the box for meeting the UL standards to their defense.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. We've got another one, and let me pull it up here. So DC Possum says, late tonight, but what is your take on running a 12,000 XP flat on a bench? Would it affect the cooling capacity? And I don't know if this comes from my video I put out yesterday, where I was just trying to run the well pump with the 12,000 XP just laying on a table, because I'm not leaving it there. I just wanted to try it out. What's your take on that?
Well, I have two takes on it. if you break it doing that and file a warranty claim, and the manufacturer asks for pictures saying, "Hey, show me the install," and it's flat on the bench, and the manual says, "Do not run this flat on the bench," then good luck. That being said, I don't want to talk about this
Your
inverter
benches.
here that's flat on a bench. And
Yeah, I will say I ran a couple of my 6000 EXs flat for like a long time, and then a couple of 6000 XPs I've run flat, even out in like disaster relief areas. And I mean, could it ruin the longevity of the life? And does it say not to do it? I guess, yeah. But they work. But
Right.
I would say
And that's just
hang it on the wall
airflow.
and
That's
do
just
what
based
you're.
for the airflow, correct?
yeah, usually those recommendations are I think what three reasons. Usually it's airflow. Now devices like a Victron charge controller, where they're passively cooled, where the heat sink is on the back and they're accounting for the heat rising over that heat sink to cool it, I think that's a different story, right? But forced air cooled devices, I think, are a little bit more forgiving. That being said, there are certain UL listings that specify which direction you can install it, in terms of, like, they only allow certain hole sizes to be facing certain directions. So whether something is falling onto it or falling into it, those sort of aspects. Or if something failed inside, do the sparks go up or do they go down or to the side? Those are all aspects that usually go into that determination in the manual. For testing it short term, I don't think maybe is the biggest concern, but I'm supposed to recommend what's in the manual.
That's right. I'm actually looking through the manual right now to see, because I feel like one of them just said don't tip it forward, but other
Right.
orientations were fine. I'm trying to remember. I haven't looked through the 12,000 XP's manual, so that might have been evident in my video too. As I'm scrolling through here, I don't see anything about it, but I don't see any orientation. I'll keep looking as we talk, but so yeah, good question, DC Possum. Another question here. Richard says, the reason I asked is that I'm going to hook you. What? I'm sorry, I can't read out loud. I'm going to hook you a second 12 kPV, and I don't remember the battery cable length. Maybe
I'm pretty sure.
hook up a. Yeah.
I think I understand the question.
Yeah.
On
He's going to hook up
the
another 12 kPV.
So some of the inverters, so I mentioned Victron, they share current based on resistance. However, I'm fairly certain that the EG4 inverters share current like through their communication. They actually have a protocol where they're not passively sharing, they're actively communicating to dial one back, dial the other one up, and that sort of thing. I'd have to double check the manual, but I'm just thinking through how they set those up with the wall mount batteries. I think it's probably close to impossible to get exactly equal resistance to each battery on that. But I would do my best if I were you to guesstimate. I think if you're off a couple of inches, it's probably not a problem. But that's my recommendation.
Okay, and I did find the orientation on the 12,000 XP, and it says you can actually tip it. Trying to see the picture. I believe that is backwards, but it's got to be greater than 75 degrees, up to 90 degrees. And then it says do not lay it on its back, and do not tip it forward at all, and don't put it upside down, in case you're wanting to do that. Okay. So
Cool.
that's what the manufacturer states. So we'll run with the manufacturer's recommendations. All right. Here we go. Pedvan says, I'm running a 12,000 XP with a Docon battery. It's running everything. The house is all electric. I'm having trouble running the central heating. At 30 minutes of it running, the inverter switches to grid.
Ooh, I'd like to know a follow-up question if it's a heat pump system or
heat
if it's
strips.
I'm wondering if it's a heat pump after 30 minutes, the condenser, or I guess at that point it'd be the evaporator outside, is frosting up. and then trying to turn on some heat strips or switch to a defrost or something like that, that really surges
Put you over the
the
limit.
system.
Yeah, and put the QQQ in that when you reply. That way I'll see it here. I've
Yeah.
got everything filtered down. That's all I see at this point.
Sweet.
Possibly
So-
also enter like a power rate or something like that for the inverters you can set so it doesn't put the full output out. Maybe if he has that set, or is that just an installer's app? I'd have to look. There's something you can change to make it like 80% or 70% or something like that. Maybe I'm saying it the wrong name, but it's something like the
probably
output
also,
power or something.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on that setting, but I would check also the battery voltage and see what the batteries are doing to see if they're holding strong enough for the inverter to stay, disconnected from the grid.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, guys, we've got about 5 minutes left. Oh my gosh, I
Good
was looking up
grief.
here to see maybe we probably got about 30 minutes, but no, about 5 minutes left. We've got one
Let's
more
speed run some
question
of these.
lined up. Yeah, I've only got one more question. So yeah, we'll do a
Cool.
lightning round if we can get in there. Okay, so this one is Dexter. Can you get the 2000
Yes.
amp MidNite battery combiner box? Okay.
I saw this message and it's
MNDCB.
already in my procurement chat, and they're gonna work on getting it on the website. So
Nice,
yes.
dude. That is awesome. That's that's customer service right there.
Yeah,
guys.
anything you guys need. If there's something that looks similar to what we have, or is an existing brand we carry, let us know. We'll get it. Look,
Hey Dexter, could you do us a solid and give us a discount code for our listeners tonight, so they can maybe
Yeah.
save some money? Yeah.
yeah,
Could you do
I actually made you guys a discount code. So the code is Unplugged, and I can
Nice.
give $50 off orders of 1,000 or more. But the catch is, and I got to give this, for the audience to know a little bit. Our coupons get picked up really quick by the websites that like scrape the internet for coupons and that sort of thing. And they say, instead of, the discount we're offering here, they'll say like, 50% off your first order. And then people plug in the code and it's only like $50 off a huge order. And they're like, attacking us like we're being deceptive here, and we're not actually running those coupon sites. So that code does expire Saturday, but yeah, we're definitely happy to support the stream here with that code. And if you guys need anything, punch it on in. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So if you're gonna do some shopping, support Dexter, support us, and get yourself a little discount at Current Connected. $50 off. It's not 50%, Randy. It's $50 off.
I'm not involved in this one, people. Not involved.
That's
in
right.
This
Look.
is not Rodney's.
If we had
And-
50% to give, we'd be given a lot of that already. We're not.
Yeah, and
we're
you said
not
that
trying to be a
expires
get rich
Saturday.
quick scheme. Yes.
All right. Today is March 19th. So those are listening on the podcast, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be there. But Saturday, March 21st, 2029 or 2029, 2026. Yeah. So if you want to use that, take advantage of it. Dexter, we appreciate you doing that. So let's.
We do run some promotions from time to time. So I think, do you guys have a page where you guys link to us and whatnot, where you could post those?
Yeah.
Unplugged.
Yep,
Probably.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
we'll do it.
definitely
Dot
check
Solar.
out their page. Yeah, you said unplugged.solar, right, Rodney?
Yep.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, we'll keep you guys feeding with what codes we can before the scalpers catch them.
Sweet.
Very cool.
All right, we got another NC Hydro says, what size battery cable would you run on a Victron RS450 / 200 4-foot long?
Great question. So I love 4-aught for 200 amps and up. However, you cannot get 4-aught through the opening of the charge controller. So 2-aught is the best you can do. That's what I would run. I wouldn't go down to 1-aught, even if 1-aught did technically have the ampacity, simply from a voltage drop and efficiency standpoint. But yeah, 2-aught would be where I'd want to go. And look, if do we have more questions, or do we have a second? Because I could give a sneak peek of something I've been working on.
Oh yeah. Actually, I do want to make sure we get this question in.
Sure.
Donnie is in he's shopping for a 4th 6000 XP. He's already invested in that system. So he's thinking, do you have any insider information or maybe just say, hey, you might want to wait for a couple of days or something like that to buy your fourth 6000 XP before. I know that might put you in a position where you might violate, rules. So maybe just wink twice. Let me just put it to you this way: do you think Donnie should buy a 6000 XP like this week?
Generally
I don't wanna get you in
speaking,
trouble,
I
man.
can't say, but I tell you what,
Yeah.
for viewers here of the stream, give my team a call and let them know I sent you from the Unplugged stream, and they'll escalate it to me, and we'll make sure that that regardless you're taken care of. I can promise
That's
that
awesome.
much.
There we
Man,
go.
Oh,
That's
nice.
awesome.
Donnie's been with us from like the very beginning of Unplugged.
Oh, sweet.
And he's been like, he started with 6000 and then he went to
Yep.
2 and then he went to 3 and now he's like, I'm going 4. He's like addicted to buying 6000 XPs. So,
Oh man.
oh yeah, it's awesome. He's got a great setup. So okay.
Can I go
and
back
then-
to that other question we had? When I was
Yeah.
saying the active power percentage is what I was talking about. So does that have anything is that on the 12,000 XP or just the hybrid inverters?
Usually the active power percentage is for like backfeeding to the grid. If you're, let's say you've got a factory that's got a very inductive load profile and you're trying to feed back, like trying to correct for your power factor, because some people aren't billed on their actual power consumed, they're billed on the apparent power. So that's what that setting would be for.
So I was thinking that was a power output at some point when I saw it or something like that. I just looked it up again and it's on the grid setting. So I figured that was probably wrong thinking on my part.
Yeah,
But
whether it's charging from the grid or feeding back to the grid in the case of like a hybrid, that's what that's going to be set up for.
Right.
That'd be a great topic for a video. Caught my interest there.
bam.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then the last QQQ was basically Carrie just wanting to know if he won the 50% off or Rodney's 25,000 giveaway. No, sorry, but close. You're the runner-up. Okay, Dexter. I just went on to grid, so that means it's time. But you had one more thing you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, you guys were asking about cables, and I just shared my screen a little sneak peek. This will only take a minute, but we redid our entire cable design tool here. And depending on the gauge you want, as you select the cables, it changes the illustration. You
pretty
can also
slick.
set your length here. You can set your lug sizes and the actual lugs on the illustration update here. You can do sets of 2. If you're not sure, you can click on this Help Me Decide button up here, which brings up where you can plug in your system voltage, whether it's 12, 24, or 48 volts. If you know your amps, you can plug it in. If you know your total cable run, and yes, this is work in progress. I got to fix the spacing on this. It's calculating for voltage drop. So as your current goes up, you can see we have a recommended option based on what's going to be ideal for the voltage drop. And if there is another option that has slightly more voltage drop, it's recommending that as the budget option. And then tied into this on the left-hand side here, we have the voltage drop calculator that keeps track of what you're already plugging in. So these currents are linked here, and it tells you exactly what the voltage drop of that cable is, right here as you're making your selections. And then another thing we're adding here is labels to the end. So like, let's say the end, to the inverter, we can label these. And as you can see, the illustration up here is updating in real time with those labels. And when we custom make these cables, we can pre-apply the labels. So that way, when it's time to hook up your system, everything is exactly as you shopped for when you were designing. And once you plug all these in, you can add them to the cart. And yeah, so that's the newest feature. This is not live yet. This is a sneak peek just for you guys, but we'll be on the Current Connected site shortly.
Man, that is slick.
You can also
And what,
plug in
and what
your
will
inverter
and what would that be
wattage.
under once it's on there? Learn,
So it'll
or-
be. This is a dev site, so stuff may not be. Yeah, this is not quite
Okay.
right. Sorry. So this is an actual product page. So
Okay.
if you're on the shop section, it'll be under DC disconnects distribution, overcurrent protection and wiring. I know this is getting to be long categories, but it was getting to be ridiculous trying to separate all those into their own. And in here we have already some sets of cables. It's essentially going to be replacing some of these pre-made sets, because on some of these we just have so many options on here. You know, choose your gauge first, then choose your length, then choose your lugs. And we have the sets, but we also have, you know, single jumpers where you're picking your length, your lugs, your color. And there's just so many options on some of these that we just needed to make a better way that was simpler to shop for. Instead of like this page that has all the options and all these backlinks to the other, it was getting out of hand. So this will be coming here later this week on the Current Connected site if you're looking to get cables for your system.
Ooh, Joe Schmidt had a really interesting comment. He says, "Can you do ferrules on those instead of lugs as well?"
Eventually, I don't have ferrules quite yet. It's not off the table. But that being said, if I could go back to this page, we do have the option of raw ends as well.
Okay.
So if you wanted raw on one side, I'd love to do ferrules. I just need to get the right tooling. But we are making these here, you know, and
hey, and speaking of ferrules, one last QQQ from myself. Are square ferrules or like the hexagon or like what's the proper shape for a ferrule? Is there?
Did we stump him?
We win.
All right. So my ferrule crimper in my toolbox does square ferrules. But I'm going to give you the good old politician or attorney response. You should consult with the manufacturer of the terminal you're inserting the cable into, right?
There we go.
No, there's probably a spec somewhere, application dependent. But I would love to offer ferrules for like Victron charge controllers. Would be fantastic to add to this cable designer. That would be sweet. But hope I didn't run us too far over on time. I appreciate everybody for sticking through this long.
Yes, absolutely. And Randy wants to know, do you have the 4-aught ferrules? And I guess you're not offering any at the moment, so that's kind of
none yet. As soon as I get the tooling for it, yes.
Yes. That's great. That is such a cool just setup. I love the illustration of how things change, and it's like you actually get to see what you're looking at. Us visual people, man, it's like, okay, I can get on board with that. I want to go buy some cables. I got piles of cables, but I kind of want to go buy some. At least play with the tool.
That's great. I love building these things that just make things easier for everybody to really understand, you know, what they're getting. And I left on the back end everything open for an API so that someday if I build a full system designer tool, as you place your cables on there and your components, for example, inverter knows what you need and the bus bar knows what studs it has, and you just maybe draw a line or it's already drawn there and you just add it to the cart dynamically. I mean, that's kind of where my thoughts long term are,
cool.
But
yes,
I'm biting off way more than I can chew here, but look, it's whatever can make it the best experience for the customer, right? That's what we want.
Yep, absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us for another night of Unplugged Live here in Unplugged Solar. Dexter, man, always great having you on. Hope you'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards. We'll chat about a few things. But Adam, Rodney, also thanks for coming on, co-hosting as always. Dexter, say a few parting words, and then we'll kind of run counterclockwise back up through Adam and Rodney, and then I'll close this out, and we'll be done here just a few minutes late, but done nonetheless.
Yeah, in case anybody missed the intro, I'm Dexter from Current Connected, and I appreciate you guys watching. I want to give a special shout out to Off Grid Wannabe watching me on my High Tech Lab channel since day one. That's awesome to see the community here and some familiar faces. I appreciate you guys having me, and look, it would have been a boring evening if I wasn't here. So thank you for something fun to do, and it's always fun when you guys try to stump me. And let me know what you guys got going on if you want to have me back. I hope I didn't offend anybody.
There we go.
Adam. No, never. Not this group. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks, Eric, for pushing the buttons. Dexter for sending me that last minute text because I mean, I get to see some of these projects that he does, and you know, just throw out some extra ideas just to make sure that Dexter has enough work to do.
Never.
Some of these little, hey, this would be cool. And then all of a sudden his project just explodes 6 times as big as it was going to be.
Oh man.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. It's always fun. It's times like this that, you know, when we have guests on here where the 3 of us can learn too, because we're all still going through our own solar journeys, trying to learn this, that, and the other thing.
Yep.
And we're just trying to share what we know, and we're glad that you're willing to share what you know, and even correct us on some things sometimes.
Hey, University of Life is the best school to attend, in my opinion.
That's right. Hard Knocks is not a fun one, but life is.
But
life
hey,
is
you'll
good.
remember.
From my perspective, I've got a handful of different projects working on. I seem to have quite a few boxes stacking up in the hallway, which can be a good thing and can be a bad thing. It just means I got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Some more Anchor Solix E10 stuff. I've got one of EcoWorthy's new batteries to take a look at. The new charge verter to take a look at as well. So lots of different things all around. So keep an eye out for some of those videos coming out hopefully soon. So thanks, and everybody have a great night. We'll chat with you next week.
Yeah, of course, I'd like to thank Dexter for coming on. I always learn something every time he comes on. Definitely enjoy having him on the show. Thank Eric for pushing the buttons, and of course, co-host Adam as well. And I didn't tell my solar production earlier. 144 today, I think.
Jeez.
I did 163 the other day. I think that's the most that I've done that I can remember off the top of my head. And as I add a few more batteries, the batteries got full today. So I have plenty of batteries to add that I don't have time to add. And some of them are at my parents' house that I'm going to take back and put on my system. So I put them over there temporarily for that emergency, and they're still over there. But they've been enjoying that extra power so they can charge more and, you know, save a little more on their bill every week. So I'm going to try to get some videos out when I can. But between work and just life, it's hard to do it. So
Y'all are teasing me to get my roof plastered here at the shop.
Yeah.
Get it done, man.
Oh man.
Well, cool, Rodney. That's good stuff. Yeah, I've got a bunch coming out. I've got one, you know, while I was out in Oklahoma, running through the mountains and stuff. I was shooting a little bit of drone footage. Got some Starlink stuff coming out here in the next couple of days, hopefully. And outside of that, just, you know, I'm like I said, I'm going to be moving a bunch of things around. So this wall behind me may be changing.
I do got something about the Starlink. So if you guys want to get the Starlink, you can go to Adam or Eric or whoever has the affiliate link. But it saved me the other day because the fiber went out. And so I just changed over my Orbi and went to my Starlink that I had as a backup. And, you know, I ran that for like 4 days because I was working. I didn't have a chance to try to work on it. And then when I had a chance, the actual box modem they give you, it was just a cable in the back got unplugged. But it was one of those that you have to take the bottom apart. And if you do it, they're going to void your warranty and all that stuff. So I had to make a technician come all the way out, take 2 screws out, and plug the wire back in, which I thought that's what it was, but you couldn't tell. And he's like, yeah, this thing just got pulled out. I'm like, why would y'all make it like this where you can't take the cord in and out yourself?
Because they want you to void your warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, Starlink, man. I just ordered
awesome.
a third dish today. So I'll have that coming in.
It's a great backup.
Just putting them all over the property instead of hotspots.
It's great for a backup in emergencies. I mean, you pay $5 a month and you can activate it.
Even with fiber, I still have it as a backup because it's gone down multiple times as they're doing construction nearby. And next thing you know, that'll be 3 days of outage.
Yeah.
Oh, and they got multiple plans now, multiple speeds. So it's very competitive now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, guys, we should wrap it up. But 10 minutes over, but that's good. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.